Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is my birth story with Buddy. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if I sound a bit off or if I keep having to clear my throat. Buddy's also sick and he's sleeping next door, so I'm going to try and film this quickly while he's sleeping. But anyway, so I thought I would tell you my birth story. It's been 5 months now since I've had Buddy, and it's taken me so long to get around to filming this. I figured it's probably about time that I told you exactly how it went. My mum came down from Scotland to stay with me and Callum 2 weeks before I knew Buddy was due, because he could have arrived at any point. And anytime I went to the midwife, they kept saying, oh, he's so low down, like he's pointing the right way, his head was up, and his head was down, sorry, and he was like really low down. So they kind of thought that he was probably going to arrive early. What was the date he was meant to be due? I want to say it was like the 15th he was meant to be due, 15th of September. And he didn't arrive when he was supposed to, obviously. I was trying to do everything I could to get the birth kind of moving along, because Callum was due to go away with work on the 1st of October, I think it was, he was due to go away. So I didn't want it going over too long and then him missing the birth. So I was desperate to have Buddy as close to his due date as possible so that Callum was there for it and there to help me for the first couple of weeks anyway. On the 20th of September, I got an appointment to go and see a reflexologist who I had seen earlier in my pregnancy, and she'd given me a pregnancy massage, which was great. So she told me a few pressure points to try and hold at home to try and get the labour started. And then that night, me and Callum went to bed, everything was all normal, and it was maybe about, I think we went to bed maybe about kind of 10:30, and I was really uncomfortable, like so restless, and I just couldn't get comfortable at all. I was just tossing and turning, and it was that way where you're kind of dozing on and off. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that I felt wet. This is actually really funny. I noticed that I felt wet and I was like, well, I definitely don't need the toilet. And I kind of got a fright and I was like, I don't know, obviously I've never had a kid before, so I was like, I don't know what it's like when your waters break. It wasn't a huge amount of water, but it definitely felt wet. So I woke Callum up and I was like, I think my waters might have broken. And he's like, are you sure you haven't peed yourself? No, I have not peed myself. And he's like, are you sure though? And I'm like, yes, I'm pretty well sure that I've not pissed myself. Thanks very much for asking. So I kind of got up, I went through to my mum, who was in the spare room at the end of our hall. I knocked on her door and she was like heavy snoring. So when I went in, she was like, oh. And I was like, Mum, I think my waters are broken. She was like, or I woke up and she's like, it started. I was like, well, yeah, I think it has. And she's like, oh, it's so exciting. She's like, well, what to do is go and try and get some sleep. If anything else changes or starts, if you start getting contractions, then we'll go from there. So I went back to bed, tried to get some sleep, but that was not happening. And I just kept, like I said, tossing and turning. It was so uncomfortable. So I was like, I feel really bad for Callum. He's obviously trying to sleep as well. So I was like, I'll just get up. I got up and went to the toilet, and I noticed that the waters, like I say, it was only a small amount of waters. It was trickling out and it was more of a kind of greeny colour, which is one of the things I remembered the midwife saying, if your waters are certain colours, I can't remember what colours they are now, but one of them is if it's green, then you should speak to your midwife or go into the hospital because it could be dangerous. So I phoned the hospital and they said what to do is go back to bed, come see us tomorrow at 11 o'clock and we'll get a midwife to assess you. So this was now at 12 o'clock on Thursday morning. They told me to come in at 11 o'clock on the Thursday morning. Yeah, that sounds very complicated, but it was like Wednesday evening to Thursday morning. So of course I couldn't sleep. I came downstairs into my front room. I watched Straight Outta Compton. It was just like a 3-hour long movie. Anyway, I couldn't sleep, so I was lying on the sofa and all these thoughts ran through my head. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, I should be sleeping right now, but I can't. I basically got to the next morning. I had a shower before I went up there, and like all that night I kept having to go to the toilet because like I could feel water coming out, so I had to sit with like a sanitary towel on the whole time. So basically my waters didn't like completely break at once. It was just kind of like a constant like trickle, or like when Buddy moved or when I moved, like a bit more would come out. So it wasn't like a full on, some people's their waters breaking, it's like whoosh. Mine, it wasn't like that. The next morning we went up to the hospital at 11 o'clock. I explained what had happened. I had to take them a sanitary towel up with me, which is really gross. I had to take it up with me so that they could assess it and see what colours the waters were. In that case, they decided they were going to induce me. So I was to be induced at 3 o'clock on the Thursday. So I was still in the hospital from 11. I got the room at this point and I was just watching TV. No contractions or anything had started. It got to 3 o'clock. They gave me the pill way to induce you. So I had that at 3 and then nothing happened for ages. I was just wandering the hospital, had some food. They're like, if you want to have anything to eat, have it now because you're going to need your energy. But when it comes to 11 o'clock on Thursday night, that's when we're going to give you the drip to induce you. Once they give you the drip, you can't have any food. So I was eating up until then. It got to 11 o'clock and they decided to put me on the drip to induce me, but also Buddy's heart rate was really, really high. So they figured he was dehydrated, so I had to be on a drip to get liquids into me to calm him down. Once they put me on the drip to induce me, the contractions started coming and they started coming quickly. Obviously once you get induced, the whole thing is that your contractions become stronger than they would if it was a normal contraction. So when you induce, sometimes the labour can be more intense, which I didn't realise until they explained it to me when I was there, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so bad. So I was quite nervous, or I hadn't been nervous about giving birth at all. I was like, so obviously one of those things that, I don't know, like everyone who has a kid obviously goes through it, so it can't be that bad. I mean, people survive kind of thing. It might feel horrible, but you'll get over it and it'll be done with, and then you'll have this amazing child. So that was kind of my whole look on it throughout the whole time until they explained that it was probably going to be more painful, and I was like, oh. My birth plan, I hadn't really put anything in it. It wasn't this major big deal, and the midwives were all quite like, oh, that's quite cool that you're so chilled about everything. I was open to pain relief. I hadn't said yes and no to anything. I was like, I'll just see how I feel when I get to that situation. And same with what kind of birth I wanted. I was like, if there's a pool available, I'm down for having a pool. If there's not a pool, then that's fine. But obviously because I had to be induced, then I couldn't have a pool birth. Because once you're induced with a drip, you're obviously attached to a drip, and then you're attached to a machine to monitor your heart rate, the baby's heart rate, and your contractions. So once I got to 11 o'clock, sorry, on the Thursday night, I was put on this drip and the contractions started going and they started getting heavier and heavier. I had Callum being my little DJ. He had on various different music for me, which helped calm me. My midwife was also really nice and just chatted to me and reassured me about everything. My mum was there and she was like massaging my back to help the pain in my back, and just trying to get me comfortable basically. I can't remember how long, this is really uninformative, but I can't remember exactly how long I went for without any pain relief, but it seemed like it was quite a while. And eventually I got to the point where the contractions were coming so hard that I decided I was going to have gas and air. So I had gas and air, and that was really funny. I remember at one point I was speaking to Mum and Callum, I was just like, oh, it's really cloudy in here. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, there's like so much clouds coming up from the gas and air. And they're like, yeah, there's no clouds here. I was like, no, I thought I could see, like, I think it was the way, because I had really dim lighting in the room to make it nice and relaxed and have music on. There was nice calming music. I was obviously like away with it on this gas and air, because to me it seemed like there was like, you know, if you're like smoking a vaporizer, there's like vapor everywhere. To me that's what the whole room looked like. I was just like, yeah, it's cloudy in here, and you're like, no it's not. Anyway, so the gas and air was pretty good. If you've never had it before, you get a really weird taste in your mouth. But yeah, I was down for it anyway. And that went on for quite a while. My midwife had to go away on her lunch, and then this other midwife took over who had like a trainee midwife with her, and she was just kind of demonstrating what to do. And my machine wasn't working, it was monitoring my contractions. For some reason, when I had a contraction, it wasn't showing on the scale properly. It was like barely showing that I was having any contraction, even though it was really intense. and you could tell from my reaction that it was really intense. So my midwife was trying to fix this before she went on her break, but when the other midwife came and took over, this became like her priority, was to get this machine to work so that she could demonstrate to the other midwife what she was supposed to be doing, rather than taking into consideration how I was feeling and trying to help me with my pain relief. And she was suggesting that I have pethidine at this point because the pain was becoming quite apparent, but because I had already been awake for however many hours beforehand, I was been awake since about 8 o'clock on the Wednesday morning, and this was now Friday morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and I had been awake all this time. I was really tired and exhausted by this point because I was been awake for so long, and now obviously the contractions were like in full swing. They were like really intense but still not close enough together. So she was suggesting that I had pethidine at this point. Oh, not that I wasn't aware, I was obviously aware what was going on, but I was just like, I just need something because this is really painful and I'm exhausted. So she was trying to suggest to the doctor that this is what I needed. When the doctor came in to assess me, she was like, no, I don't think she could have, it's the wrong kind of pain relief for her situation because I was so tired. It wouldn't really help me. So they suggested if I was going to have any more pain relief, then because I was so exhausted, it should be an epidural. So I decided, yes, give me an epidural because this is just so painful. I was that exhausted that I started crying, and I'm not really an emotional person, and it was just, I just couldn't focus on anything. All I was consumed by how tired I was. My contractions became so intense because I was still on the drip that I would have one contraction, and as soon as it would stop, it would start again, and then as soon as it would stop, it would start again. So I was getting no breaks in between my contractions because the machine wasn't working properly. It wasn't showing up that this was the rate my contractions were. You could only tell it from how I was reacting. And this had been going on for so long because this midwife was too busy trying to fix the machine rather than focusing on that I was physically exhausted and this drip should be getting turned off. But when my midwife came back from her lunch, she saw the state I was in because I was so exhausted, and she was like, I think we need to turn this drip off. So she turned the drip off, and sure enough, my own body had started making the contractions, which is the whole point of an epidural, not an epidural, sorry, which is the whole point of being induced anyway, is to try and get your body to start having contractions. So they turned the machine off, and she was basically that should have been turned off ages ago because you were already having contractions on your own, and because of how exhausted you were, because it was quite clear that I was having one contraction and then going and then having another contraction, and then there was no breather, which you would normally get if you were having contractions naturally. I had got so exhausted by this point that I was crying, and she said that yes, we should go for an epidural if I was comfortable with that. And at this point I was just like, do you know what, like, just give me it. The idea of it really creeps me out, and I was quite scared because obviously you've got the potential risk that something could go wrong and you could be paralysed. But I was just like, you know what, I'll just have it. Just give me it, that is fine. So yeah, the doctor came in, the anaesthetist came in, inserted the very grim needle, and I could like feel, not that I could feel the needle, obviously I couldn't feel the needle going in, but I could feel like a pushing on me. And you have to sit very still because obviously it's a very small place it is to go into. And yeah, it was just the sensation of the kind of pushing of it actually going into, because I think it's like quite a difficult place to insert the needle. Once it was in, the anaesthetist is like, you've got this button, when you feel a contraction, if you can still feel the pain, you press this button and it will give you more of the dose of whatever it is that they give you to help relieve the pain. So the whole point was that they were giving me the epidural so that I could try and get some sleep, so that I could dilate properly and then have the baby where I have more energy to actually give birth. They put that in, and I got this weird sensation down the left hand side of my body where it was a kind of electric feeling, and I was quite worried about it. I was like, I have this weird pain down the side of my body, and basically they just pumped the little button and they're like, can you feel it, can you feel it, can you feel it? And I was like, eventually I was like, no, I can't feel anything. And they're like, okay, well, that's probably good then. That is you. And then I I was quite happy and just went to sleep for a few hours. I think that was about 6 o'clock in the morning I got the epidural. I was kind of dozing off, and when I woke up it was maybe about 9:30ish, and the midwife's had all changed over by this point, and the midwife came in and she was just like, oh yeah, we're looking good, we're looking good. And she checked me over and she's like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I can see a head. I was like, what? She's like, yep, that's a little head right there. We'll probably be good to start pushing soon. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's... All of a sudden I still had like, I can't remember how many centimetres I had to go. I think it was only like 5 centimetres dilated or something once they gave me the epidural. Once I got to that time in the morning, she was just like, yep, I can see a head there. I'm just gonna go and get the doctor and check that we can start pushing and then we'll get going. I was like, okay. So she went and spoke with the doctor and they're like, yep, that's fine. They came back in and she explained, she was like, okay, now that you've had an epidural, some people find that they can't push, but I'll talk you through how to push and you just try and we'll go from there. She's like, if not, we'll have to get the little, I can't remember what it's called, the little thing that basically like help pull them out. So she explained about pushing, obviously like how to push, and them just went for it. I couldn't feel anything, like the pain, I couldn't feel any pain or anything. I was aware that I was pushing and knew exactly like that's obviously how you push, but I couldn't feel it. I think maybe I had to push like 3-4 times maybe, and he was out. That was it, he was just there, which was so bizarre because I'd gone from sleeping, or we'd gone from being in so much pain to not being able to feel anything, and then been in this kind of weird haze of sleeping, and then woke up and was told that it was time for him to come out. And he came out and everything was so calm in the room because I was on so many drugs. I was just like, yeah, it's okay, quite happy. He came out and I was just like, hi, wave from a distance. No, I'm joking, I didn't. He came out and I obviously held him, and it was just such a bizarre moment because I was so heavily on these painkillers. Obviously because I couldn't feel having to push him out, I just felt like it was just kind of all of a sudden he was there. It was really quite bizarre. Both Callum and my mum were in the room when I gave birth. Callum was beside me and my mum was kind of to the back of the room. She was like, I'll just let you do your thing, I don't want to get in the way. Yeah, it was just so lovely. And afterwards he had a little feed and that was him here, and it was just the most weirdest feeling ever. I can't even explain it. I was so emotional. I was so happy that I've been waiting 9 months for this thing to arrive, and it was finally, or he, sorry, not it, he was finally here. Everything was just all of a sudden so worth it. I felt during my pregnancy, I felt so weird the whole time, like I was not myself. Even through the labour, I was just like, oh, I know this is coming, but until he's actually here, it's not going to feel real. And then when he was there, I was just like, ah, I made this. Yay. For the next kind of few days afterwards, recovery-wise, I was quite emotional, kind of cried occasionally when I wasn't really sure why I was crying, and anytime I looked at Buddy, I was just so overwhelmed. It's just like, yeah. Just I can't really explain it more than that, other than just being really overwhelmed. And the first day, obviously I'd been in the hospital and everything, obviously I had family around with me, but when it came to I had to stay overnight in the hospital because I had an epidural, and they want to make sure that you can actually walk before they send you home. So you had to come around from the epidural in the hospital. And then when Callum went home and my mum went home and I was just left in the room with Buddy, I was just like, they've left me here with this baby. I don't know how to look after a baby. And I was quite nervous about having to get up and feed him because he was waking up all the time, obviously because he's just a new baby, and I was like trying to feed him, change his nappy and stuff, and I just felt like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but you get over it and you just make do, I guess. And now he's a cute little egg and he's sleeping next door all ill, but although the whole drama with the machine not working properly, it wasn't a negative birth at all. I was really happy that I still managed to have a natural birth. I was happy that I took the painkillers, and if I was to ever have kids again, then I would 100% just be like, okay, I know I'm gonna have an epidural, that's fine. That's totally okay with me. I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever to your birth as long as you're comfortable and you're doing everything that's safe for you and your baby. So yeah, I was happy with that. and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's struggling with the pain, or in my case it was painful but it was more to do with the exhaustion. That's why I had to have the epidural. I was really grateful for Callum and my mum being there, and having a nice chill playlist really helped me for the first part of the labour when the contractions were just coming along before it got super intense. I think music definitely helps calm you. I know it does me. And when Callum put on some of my favourite songs, I was just like, oh my god, yeah, I love this. Because I didn't organise a playlist. I was like, Callum, you can just be the DJ, just put on something that'll make me happy. And he did really well, so I was really happy with that. And if you've just got people that are good to support you and make you feel comfortable, then that's great. Bless my mum for having to massage my back the whole time. She did really well, so I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, that's basically my birth story. I think I covered everything. It's probably a bit all over the place because I didn't write any notes down about how it went, and I've just kind of tried to remember that as I've been speaking, so I'm sorry if it's came across a bit erratic. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. If there's any other pregnancy, labour, baby videos, or any other videos that you'd like to see me do, put it in the comments below and I will try and get some of those filmed for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!